This is every parent's worst nightmare.
An 18-year-old gunman goes into a elementary school, goes into a classroom, and kills 19 students and 2 teachers in minutes.
I saw last night, we were nearly in tears. We're traveling right now and someone in tears just seeing this news, because you look at your own kids, you look how helpless they are in those kind of situations.
When picking out a school, maybe the number one thing we looked at was how will security be here? Beyond how are the athletics and how is this department? Will I feel comfortable letting my kid get out of the car and going into this building for half the day when I'm not there?
What is common sense say to do? We secure Jordan courthouses. We secure airports. Why are we not, like you said, we're not going to be able to secure every grocery store, but we can secure every school.
There's one thing we can agree on as a nation, politically, privately, everything. Nobody wants this to happen. So if nobody wants this to happen, there has to be solutions.
How do you protect people in vulnerable situations? We know that people at airports, when they're standing in line, are in vulnerable situations. So we have armed guards while they're going through security because they're in a vulnerable situation because they're standing in line kind of crammed together. We also know that most office buildings and most people that I'm talking to right now that work in a big office building, you've got the security. Why shouldn't your kids?
It has to be the states and the federal government working together and saying, here are the resources, they have to be put in place.
Right, and it needs to be a priority.
Protecting
our children,
at the courthouse.
Yes, needs
at
to
the
be
airport.
That's exactly right. We have to have those same safety measures and protections in place to protect our children when they are at school.
We have a Transportation Safety Administration. You asked that last night, Logan. We set up a TSA to secure the airports. We need to do the same kind of thing, maybe on a state level, for the schools.
There needs to be someone stepping up and saying that this can be done. In most schools, hopefully your school system will say, yes, if the resources were available, we would take it. And for those that won't, as you said, it needs to be mandatory. It needs to be.
I don't think the optional thing works. But
we have this resource. Why does it not work? Why do schools? Why would they say no?
Well, what Jordan said could be the teachers' unions. Could be saying we don't want that in the schools. They think it creates other risks. The truth of the matter is, bad people can get weapons. As much as you'd like to say that doesn't happen, bad people can get weapons. Bad people get weapons. You have to meet that with a security threat like you would at the airport, like you would at our studios, like you would at the courthouse. With other people that are trained that have weapons to protect those that are inside. And you don't say to the airports, it's not an option. Okay? It's not an option that you have to have security protocols at the airport. It's not an option at courthouses that you have armed, there's usually sheriff personnel protecting the courthouse. That's not an option. That's the law. And I think that's what we've got to get back to.
We may not be able to right now solve everything in terms of mass shootings, because as horrible as it is, but maybe we can focus on the most vulnerable being our kids.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, then at least there's a small win there in saying, okay, we know there are certain things that can be done. If we are going to have our tax dollars spent somewhere, if we're going to have that happen, I don't think you're going to have a lot of people upset that you're spending it on
securing
the schools.
Yeah.
You could have it being spent on 1,000 different things, which is being spent on. I'm sure some of it is, but not on a mass level that could be taken.
No.
Or you're going to have to say, your government doesn't care, and people are going to have to step up and start doing it themselves, and you're going to have organizations that are going to step in and have to try to solve the problem against political mainstream moves.
Make it a priority, like Logan said. How about let's start with the schools? And we have the resources. We may have to reallocate those resources from other places. But, please, number 2. And number 3, if there are red flags with somebody, you got to speak up and say something.
Local communities need to use their resources in a smart way. It can be done at federal, state, and local level. Let's make sure that these schools have the proper armed guards, and think about, too, the new technology of putting in metal detectors into every doorway. They've got new metal detectors, like we talked about in the break, that we go to at events where you don't have to stop. It will stop you if necessary, but you don't have to stop, so it doesn't slow down kids getting into school. And it's not like the old school days. Think the new way. Let's use all the technology we have to combat this problem.
What's the practical solution of what you do? When our airlines and airports were under attack after 9/11, we hardened the target. So what we need to do here is harden the target.